I believe that Taiwan doesn't want to retrace its steps, nor does it want to move closer to China. Instead, we want to become an independent, beautiful and small country. I think the election of Lai Chingte symbolizes a move in the right direction.
Since we had a majority in the previous 8 years, and now for the next 4 years, the Taiwanese people have chosen not to have a majority, I trust the new government will continue to work on negotiations and bring another aspect to our new democracy.
On the 13th of January, thousands gathered outside the headquarters of the Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, to celebrate the historic presidential victory of the party. The ruling party's Lai Chingte won the election. The DPP, that champions Taiwan's separate identity and rejects China's territorial claims, was seeking a third successive four-year term, unprecedented under Taiwan's current electoral system.
台湾人民用行动
The Taiwanese people have taken action to successfully resist the intervention of external forces. This is because we believe in electing our president. We have not engaged in any provocations. Taiwan simply wants to maintain its democratic and free way of life. We hope that both sides of the Taiwan Strait can return to healthy and orderly exchanges in the future. President Tsai Ing-wen has continuously extended goodwill over these 8 years. Unfortunately, China has not provided an appropriate response.
Voters clearly backed the DPP's view that Taiwan is a de facto sovereign nation, what should bolster defenses against China's threats and deepen relations with fellow democratic countries. So what exactly is China's claim on Taiwan? Will Taiwan's new president Lai Chingte face China's wrath after his victory? What's behind the China-Taiwan tensions? How are countries reacting? And what makes Taiwan elections significant globally? We find answers to these questions and more on this episode of WION Wideangle. The votes have been counted in Taiwan, and the boisterous election victory celebrations are an illustration of the island territory's vibrant democratic credentials. Lai Chingte, the candidate of Taiwan's ruling party, received over 40% of the total votes. Taiwan's opposition, Kuomintang or KMT party candidate Hu Yui, garnered 33.49% of the votes, while the Taiwan People's Party or TPP candidate Ko Wen-je received 26.45%. There were nearly 1.03 million first-time voters aged 20 to 23 in this presidential election, accounting for almost 6% of the voter population of 19.5 million. The Democratic Progressive Party's fortunes were revived by the 2014 Sunflower Student Movement. It was a movement named after a floral gift sent to protesters as a symbol of hope. The students protested against a controversial trade deal that would have given Beijing more leverage over Taiwan when the DPP absorbed many sunflower activists and policy platforms. The party earned itself lasting popularity with many millennials and 8 years in the presidential palace. Now, a decade later, Taiwan's next generation of Gen Z and younger millennial voters born in the late 1990s and early 2000s are emerging as a political force, and they see the DPP not as the party of outsiders who can bring change, but as part of the establishment.
He's going to lead us to prosperity, and our economy is going to grow. Because now you can see that the stock market is on the peak. And then in the future, it's going to be higher and higher.
It's going to be higher and higher.
There are many difficult problems, but I believe that as long as there is a government that is willing to have dialogue and is willing to listen, it will lead the people to have more friends around the world who stand together and let us go out in the world.
Voters spurned Beijing's repeated calls not to vote for Lai, delivering a comfortable victory for a man whom China's ruling Communist Party sees as a dangerous separatist. But who is the new president of Taiwan, and what does he intend to do? William Lai, also known as Lai Chingte, grew up in a coal mining village in northern Taiwan. Lai studied medicine at prestigious universities in Taiwan and went on to receive a master's degree in public health from Harvard. When Taiwan ended nearly 40 years of martial law in the late 1980s and initiated political reforms, Lai gave up his medical practice for politics. Lai served as Taiwan's premier, nominally the principal advisor to the president, Tsai Ing-wen, and positioned as the head of the central government from 2017 to 2019. In November 2019, Lai was elected as the vice president. Now in 2024, as Lai has won the Taiwan elections and become the new president, Lai Chingte has vowed to defend the self-ruled island from intimidation from China. But China dislikes Lai Chingte. It views Lai as a troublemaker and considers him a separatist for his views on Taiwan's sovereignty. The roots of tensions between Lai and China go back to 2017, when he described himself a pragmatic worker for Taiwan's independence. This sparked a row, as Taiwan has neither formally declared independence from China nor united with it. And so the Chinese foreign minister dismissed Taiwan's election results and affirmed that its reunification with Taiwan was inevitable. It warned that any pursuit of independence by Taipei would be severely punished.
Taiwan has never been a country, not in the past and certainly not in the future. Taiwan's independence has never been possible. It has not been possible in the past, and it will never be possible. Anyone on the island of Taiwan who wants to pursue Taiwan independence or split China's territory will be severely punished by history and law. Therefore, no matter what the election results are, it cannot change the basic fact that there is only one China in the world and Taiwan is part of China. Nor can it change the consensus of the international community to adhere to the one China principle.
Taiwan has been independent of the People's Republic of China since 1949. China claims Taiwan as its territory, but many Taiwanese see their island as a separate nation. It has a democratically elected government, its own currency, and political and judicial systems. China may not control Taiwan, but it claims it as a part of its territory under the One China principle. It has never ruled out using force to take it back, especially if Taiwan declares independence. The relations between Taiwan and China have strained sharply over the years. The Chinese Communist Party points to this history to claim Taiwan. But the Taiwanese point to the same history to argue that they were not part of the modern Chinese state that was first formed after the revolution in 1911, or the People's Republic of China that was established under Mao in 1949. Today, what worries Beijing is the idea that the president-elect Lai Chingte could try to change the status quo by declaring the establishment of a Republic of Taiwan. But during an election campaign, Lai said he would stick to then-President Tsai's path of extending talks with China and maintaining peace and the status quo, while also pledging to defend the island and reiterating that only its people can decide the island's future.
I think the election results entail that there will likely be a rocky period of cross-strait relations ahead. Now, Beijing will only provide more stabilizing moves towards Taiwan. It will only extend olive branch towards Taiwan if it thinks the next government of Taiwan has staying power. Staying power as in winning the presidency with a convincing margin, as well as hopefully a retaining majority in the parliament.
I do not think that Taiwanese necessarily means they want independence. We have seen in the past many surveys that have shown that Taiwanese, overwhelming majority of Taiwanese actually prefers to maintain the status quo. I think what they really want is also more autonomy and sovereignty, and for Taiwan to have a better say in how they determine their future.
Global leaders reacted to the result of Taiwan's elections. Some congratulated Lai Chingte for winning Taiwan's presidential election, praising the high turnout and democratic process. But for this, they drew intense anger from Beijing, which had hoped to see Taiwan's ruling party ousted. Let us take you through some of the reactions to the pivotal vote. British Foreign Minister David Cameron congratulated Lai on his win and said he hoped Taiwan and China would renew efforts to resolve their differences peacefully. The elections today are a testament to Taiwan's vibrant democracy, he said in a statement. I hope that the two sides of the Taiwan Strait will renew efforts to resolve differences peacefully through constructive dialogue, without the threat or use of force or coercion. Japan offered congratulations for Lai's election and the smooth vote. Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa said in a statement, and I quote, "We expect that the issue surrounding Taiwan will be resolved peacefully through dialogue, thereby contributing to the peace and stability in the region." She added that Taiwan was an extremely crucial partner, with whom Tokyo aimed to deepen cooperation. Canada's Ministry of Foreign Affairs congratulated the people of Taiwan after the elections, but did not mention Lai. The ministry said in a statement on the social media platform X, and I quote, "Guided by the pillars of democracy, human rights, and peace, Canada looks forward to advance its people-to-people science and trade investments." The European Union welcomed Taiwan's presidential election and congratulated all the voters who participated in this democratic exercise without mentioning President-elect Lai. The EU remains concerned about growing tensions in the Taiwan Strait and opposes any unilateral attempt to change the status quo, said the statement by a spokesperson for EU diplomatic chief Josep Borrell. And the United States does not support the independence of Taiwan, said President Joe Biden. The Biden administration had feared that the election, transition, and new administration would escalate conflict with Beijing. In a statement, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken saluted Lai on his victory and hailed the robust democratic system and electoral process of the self-ruled island. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in a statement that Moscow continued to view Taiwan as an integral part of China. Moscow has repeatedly shown its support to Beijing's One China policy on the issue of Taiwan. Just days after the new president was voted in Taipei, one of Taiwan's diplomatic allies cut ties with the island in favor of Beijing. Nauru, a tiny island nation in Micronesia, northeast of Australia, was just one of the 12 countries that kept diplomatic ties with Taipei. But in recent years, Beijing, which insists Taiwan is part of China, has been poaching its diplomatic allies. Taiwan suggests that this latest loss is related to the weekend's election results, which angered China. Its foreign ministry announced that it was severing diplomatic ties with Nauru.
To maintain our sovereignty and dignity, we have decided from this very day to end diplomatic relations with Nauru, halt all bilateral plans for cooperations, withdraw the embassy and repatriate technical personnel, and demand for Nauru to shut its embassy in Taiwan. China has been deliberately trying to lure our diplomatic allies over the years and activated the plan during a critical moment after the election was over, with the aim to attack the freedom of democracy that Taiwanese are proud of. This is how it blatantly shows the totalitarian nature of communism to the world.
Lai Chingte's victory comes as the United States looks to stabilize fraught relations with China and prevent competition from veering into conflict. The U.S. maintains official ties with Beijing and recognizes it as the only Chinese government under its One China policy. But it also remains Taiwan's most significant international supporter. Taiwan is a crucial supplier of semiconductors for the United States and many other countries. During Tsai Ing-wen's administration, Taiwan augmented ties with the U.S., its biggest international backer. This brought about increased arms sales as well as support to the island. In August 2022, U.S. politician Nancy Pelosi, then Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, visited Taiwan. Tensions between Taiwan and China had hit a new high. U.S. officials have always been saying that Washington will uphold its long-standing policy towards Taiwan, no matter who takes on the top job. The island has long been one of the most contentious issues in U.S.-China relations, with Beijing condemning any perceived support from Washington for Taipei. U.S. President Joe Biden had even vowed during a television interview to defend Taiwan militarily if needed. Under President Xi, China has ramped up this gray zone warfare, sending record numbers of Chinese fighter jets near Taiwan and holding military drills in response to political exchanges between the US and Taiwan. In 2022, China's warplane incursions into Taiwan's air defense identification zone nearly doubled.
Taiwan is, kind of a key partner for the United States, but it doesn't have a security sort of treaty with it because they're not diplomatically recognizing, they're not diplomatically recognized by America. However, Taiwan also has to do everything it can to try and preserve its ability to look after its autonomy, and that means having a strong economy and having a strong security, kind of outlook, which then preserves its interests against a China which under Xi Jinping is extremely assertive.
On the first day of stock trading after the presidential election, markets rose on investor expectations, while the new president-elect vowed to further boost the democratic island's flagship semiconductor industry. Opinions on the streets were mixed over what sort of change lay in store. Some residents expressed concern over the result, saying that the president-elect should focus more on domestic rather than international affairs.
The results of this election were within my expectations. Although I am not particularly satisfied, because I would like to hope that our presidential candidates would think more about how we can first take care of our domestic affairs and then have the confidence to speak to other nations. I wish our approach to foreign affairs could be more temperate and that there would be more focus on internal party matters.
Rising house prices and rentals, stagnating incomes, a significant youth unemployment rate, and poor GDP growth have worried many. Taiwan sits at the heart of the global semiconductor supply chain. Any major disturbance or conflict on the island poses a $10 trillion risk to the international economy, which would subsequently mean a threat to the entire world. Taiwan's president-elect Lai Chingte will take office in May, and it remains to be seen if he can resolve Taiwan's sizable domestic and international challenges.